Hello, my name is The Luminary, and today we're going to be playing Victoria 2. Victoria 2 is one of my favorite games. I've always loved Paradox's strategy games, but Victoria 2, always been a big fan of it, although I don't get to play as often as I'd like. Um, I've gone through a few campaigns, as you can see. I've got a couple save games up there. Um, it's kind of fun to be able to go through and play a country through the Industrial Revolution and the colonization of the New World, although a lot of that's already kind of been taken place already. It's a very interesting point in history. I find it quite interesting myself. I'm not the greatest player at this game. I don't pretend to know everything about everything, especially with these Paradox games. It's hard to find someone who knows everything. But I've kind of started getting pretty decent. My favorite country to play in is Brazil. They're fairly strong in the southern Americas, and they can kind of stay out of trouble for a fair amount of time. The last time I played on Brazil, I was able to capture most of South America, but then I ran into some issues with the U.S. and France and even the central countries all starting to declare war on me because I was warmongering. So I was thinking about playing Brazil again. This time, maybe try to avoid some of that stuff. Don't get so overzealous, and try to take it one step at a time. So I think that's the way I'm going to play it, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so for those of you who have never played a Paradox game, you there's just loads and loads of information that you get. A lot of it you probably don't need all the time, but when you do need it, it's nice to have, and that's probably one of my favorite aspects of Paradox games is that you really can control as much as you want. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. I'll sort of take you through some of the aspects. As I said, I'm not an expert by any means. This game is very complicated, and I just sort of try to swim as much as I can in this crazy game. So, as you can see at the top, there's the major UI sections: production, budget, technology, politics, population, trade, diplomacy, and military. Underneath that, we've got our ranking in the world. Right now, Brazil starts off as, no, as 19th, which means that we are a civilized nation. The great powers are the top 8. The next 8 are secondary powers, and then the rest are either civilized or uncivilized. I don't know if I'll really explain much about uncivilized nations, um, but yeah, Brazil starts off as a civilized nation, which is good. It's good to start that way, unless you want to try to make the game a little bit harder on yourself. Prestige is kind of a resource that allows you to manipulate things. It really is kind of self-explanatory. Your prestige is just basically how important you are on the global scale. Um, Prestige really helps a lot in your ranking, but then also highly prestigious nations tend to get a lot more attention that I've found anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong. Industrial power really is, again, self-explanatory. It's how industrial your country is. This number over here tells you exactly how many factories you have, and then this is just the ranking I am. So I'm 33rd in prestige, 33rd in industrial with 0 factories, and then my military power, which is 5. I believe it means I've got 5 units. No, that's 6. So I'm not sure. Well, maybe that's no, yeah. So it's 5 of something. It's a unit that Paradox came up with, and then I'm 32nd in the world, which gives me a ranking of 19. I probably am like tied with a bunch of people. That's why. So, kind of going through this, we'll go into our production up there. As you can see, I've got a lot of different provinces. They're listed here. We won't be getting into factories until very late in the game. I prefer to play Brazil using my population more so to get my resources. Artisans do majority of the production until you hit into factories, and Brazil just doesn't have the money, the investors, the population to really get strong into factories. At least the way that I play. Again, not an expert. But as you can see right off the bat, because of the way the system is, they're going to start to try to build up money to build factories. They're going to try and they might get 1 or 2 factories built, and then they'll go bankrupt and they get canned. So I try to, with my government, I try to take control of most of that, just so there's less waste. But in the budget, this is kind of more what I'm interested in. I really enjoy the economic structure of this game. There's the 3 different classes. Here you'll have, in the poor tax bracket, you have craftsmen, farmers, laborers, slaves, and soldiers. Obviously slaves if your country allows slavery. And then this is just your tax bar, just like any other game that requires taxes. And then this is the total amount of pounds that we're getting out of our poor people. And then this graph here, or this pie chart, tells you, percentage of the people, how they're doing with their own money. So, the green shows that they're, getting their life needs, as in like they have housing and they have food. They're not starving or anything. They're content. The blue is a little bit lower there. I believe that the blue is less. The everyday needs are the bare minimum to live, and then the luxury needs is like they're living the good life. I believe it goes dark blue, green, and light blue. I believe I could be wrong. These life needs and everyday needs might be backwards. Then the middle class, artisans, bureaucrats, clergymen, clerks, officers. Same thing here. Red obviously is bad. They're getting nothing. They're like they're living in the park. There's a yellow section there. Their life needs are partially fulfilled. Okay, so it looks like blue is actually higher than green now that I'm looking through this. So blue is good, green is worse, light blue is best. So you can see. So as you can see, we're sitting at, sorry, before I jump ahead here, and then the rich are just aristocrats and capitalists. As you can see, we start off pretty good. I really don't like having my taxes so high, simply because I like to try to let the people kind of get their stuff done on their own, which is, in my opinion, a stronger economy. Stockpile. The stockpile system kind of eludes me a little bit. Basically, from what I've learned, this essentially means how much we're paying to bring in resources that we use on every turn. And then this percentage just means how much of that you actually want to buy, but I've never come up to a situation where I ever wanted to reduce this from 100%, because this is what you need. So if you're buying less than you need, then your economy will grind to a halt very quickly, and then you'll have way more problems than just the little bit of money that you have to spend on that. So I don't really understand why you'd want this slider, but maybe there's an aspect to the game that I'm just not seeing. Education is really, really important in my opinion. It increases the amount of clergymen that are available, increases your technology resource gathering rate, your literacy. I believe it helps with some of the more complex behavior of population. Essentially, it's a really good thing, just like it is in the real world. I try to pump that up as fast as possible. Administration just is how corrupt and how inefficient your government is, so the more you can increase the administration, the more tax that you tax will actually come into your coffers. So very good. Social spending, we won't touch that right now because our government is too cheap, and the way that society works, no public funds go to any of these programs. But as we develop, we'll start to institute these programs, and they're going to cost us. Military spending. I don't like to play too much of a military game, although we'll see how that goes this playthrough. So this will increase your officers and your soldiers, which will then increase the amount of brigades that you can send out. So that's important. It's good to basically the higher wages that you give to your soldiers, the more of your population will switch over to be soldiers, and then the more soldiers you have, the more you can send out to the field, is basically how this goes. Tariffs, this is my favorite part of the game. I tax low, I get the economy going, and then I tariff the crap out of all trades. So that's where I get all my money. And again, this might not be the best way to do it, but it's worked good for me. And basically this just means what percentage of trade transactions does the government get a slice of. So as you can see, this little red arrow, that means that right now the laws in place state that I can only put a maximum 25% tariff on there. Trust me, I will be repealing that, and we will be taxing the crap out of that. So just to sort of mess with this a little bit, we're getting 46 pounds per turn, but then again, we haven't started yet, so I'm not going to mess too much about this until everything kind of settles down. With technology, this is sort of, again, it really depends on how you want to play. If you want to play very military, you want to go army. If you want to ever have any boats, you're going to want to develop your naval technology, because as soon as a country like France or UK declares war on you, which they will all the time, like, they'll just go through and just kill all your boats, just immediately destroy them all, because they have thousands and thousands, and you'll probably have just dozens. So if you don't have like the newest technology, you're not even going to have a chance. So sometimes I just don't even worry about the Navy too much. Commerce is good, but I don't like to really start with it, simply because we don't have that huge of a population base as it is, and I like to make them as efficient as possible with the little money that we have, and increase the efficiency rather than trying to increase my money. I find that works better for me. Culture is about improving your rank, but be very careful about that, because as I alluded to at the start, the higher the rank you have, the more you get noticed, and the more your actions have repercussions. So I like to touch on culture only once I've got a very stable system going on, and then I try to race to become a great power. That's kind of my strategy. And then industry. This is where I love this. I love industry. It really helps with your country. It basically improves your outputs. The way that Brazil's set up, it's got a lot of resources, not that many people though. So if you can increase their efficiency, you're not going to run out of resources. You're just going to start putting out more and getting more money in. And since it's an exporting country, then you can tax that, and it's all fun. So what I think I'm going to do here, is I'm going to go with the steam engine. Yeah, I'm going to start researching the steam engine. Let's go into politics. This is cool. It's all sort of separated, just like a real government. This will give you a percentage of the different parties that occupy the upper house. So the big things to remember, the reactionary, like as the tooltips sort of allude, the reactionary, that's bad if you want to be a progressive country. They'll pretty much always want to go backwards. Conservative, they don't really care, they just want to stay the same. And liberals, they want to change. So if you want to make any reforms, what you have to do is you have to make more people liberal, and then you make a change. And as soon as you make a change, then everyone freaks out and it becomes more conservative again. So then you're slowly trying to grind back to liberalism and then make a change and then it goes back and forth. That's how that works. The starting party will always be the highest percentage of the upper house, but since we're pretty much the king, we can just dictate which party is actually in power. And this is important because each party will have specific policies that's important to them. And I'm still not super familiar with what all these policies mean, but the Liberals, basically their trade policy means that there is that they like tariffs. The economic policy means that the people can do whatever they want as far as the market is concerned. Religious policy is that I believe is that you don't need to have any kind of religion. Religion is not that important for the government. Citizenship means that you can immigrate people and they have full rights. And war policy is that the military is good. Spend lots of money on the military. Conservative party, free trade. So this is what we're on right now. As you can see there, minimum tariff is negative 100%, maximum tariff is 25%. So that's why we had that 25% maximum showing there. So we're going to want to change that. Interventionism, again, just like the Liberals, basically the population can do whatever they want in the market, which in real life is fabulous. In this game, the people are really stupid, and I don't trust them, so I don't like that. Pluralism, religion is a little bit more important. Limited citizenship, immigration is it's discouraged, and jingoism. This is even more military. I don't really know what the biggest difference between pro-military and jingoism other than it costs more supply. Or maybe that's less supply? I'm not sure. Either way, the spending is the same, so whatever. But anyways, this is the reactionary. They're the conservatives that want to go back to the way that it was way back. They are they support the free trade. They do support state capitalism, which I prefer. I actually prefer even more control and less people having control, but this is kind of more the direction that I want. Unfortunately, none of these parties have exactly what I want, and that's kind of the trick to the game, is trying to figure out the best way to do things. The important part right now, right at the start for me, is to get the trade policies in act, so I can start to kind of do what I need to do, and also to have this very proactive citizenship policy. We're in the Western Hemisphere, the New World, so we can actually encourage immigration, and if we can further encourage that by giving people residency, then that's important. So I'm going to switch our government from the Conservatives, which have a majority, to the Liberals, because I am just the boss like that. So now we are a Liberal government, even though only 25% of the seats are Liberal. And underneath here, this is the between the voters and the peoples. This is kind of, if you think about the way that it was in the past, not every person was allowed to vote. Like, black people couldn't vote, women couldn't vote, even sometimes poor white people couldn't vote. So it really, there is a big gap between what the voters want and what the rest of the people want. So this just sort of represents the difference there. So you can kind of keep an eye, like if the voters' ideologies are significantly different than the people's, then you're probably going to get a lot of rebellions because the people are wanting something different than what's established. But then you can kind of try to change that around with um, your own powers to sort of try to follow what the people want. Or if you want to be a crazy dictator, you can just ignore them and then just quell their rebellions with force. So again, you can do whatever you want in this game. Down here, kind of, you can take a look at what the big issues are, what percentage of people are, worried or upset or whatever about their things. I don't really particularly watch that stuff too much because, again, there's just so much information. Social reforms, you won't really get a lot of chance to mess around with that too much until later on in the game. It's the political reforms that you'll start to kind of chip away at near the, throughout the game here. What you'll do is when the liberals can take enough power, you'll get a choice, and you can pick one of these, and then they freak out and they go back to conservative. So it's really important to figure out really not only which ones benefit your game style the best, but if you aren't really too sure what you want, you can actually check to see what the people want. And as you can see, like for say censored press or even free press, right now it says 0% of the population want this reform. That's just because we haven't actually played any at all. Those will usually have a fairly low percentage, but for here, 15% of our population want to get rid of slavery, so that's probably going to be a fairly early reform for us, even though it hurts our ability to produce. This will make people happy too. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is that's the touch on the politics. Population, I don't do too much in here. Again, just a matter of just way too much information, but you can find out anything you want about any population in your whole country. So like basically this is the equivalent of going door to door and asking people, hey, what do you think? So if we wanted to go to what's our capital's name? Rio de Janeiro. Can I get into there from here? View population free, Rio de Janeiro. Okay, so capital. So we can find out that workforce is mostly farmers. They're all Catholics. They're mostly conservative, but the vote is split. Difference between population and vote, right? The major issues, they are anti-military and pro-military at the same time. Again, one of the issues of can't make everybody happy. And the nationality, it's kind of sucky that those colors are so similar, but most of them are Brazilian. Some of them are Afro-Brazilian. I think that means that they are black people that were brought to Brazil. I'm pretty sure. And yeah, and so then this just shows each of the different types of units that are in the game, are in the location, and then their specific information, whether they're unemployed, what their needs are getting. Monthly change shows, if they're so if a bunch of farmers are becoming, I don't know, soldiers, and you want to build up your military, that's good. If they're becoming slaves, then there's a problem. So that's good things just to keep an eye on. Trade, this is part of that whole system in production or not production, sorry, in the budget with the national stockpile. This kind of like is a more in-depth thing of it. This is really, I've only ever touched this like twice, and it was because I was getting a whole bunch of resources from a certain country that I wanted to go to war with, so I stockpiled a whole bunch, went to war with them, captured them, and then that was it. Other than that, this, you can try to play the market, but I find it's stupid, and it's boring for me, so I don't like it. This is the diplomacy screen. These are the great powers. You can search up any country that you want to find out about them. So like in South America, this is kind of our local area. We can see that you can see their relationships with the different great powers. You can call certain diplomatic actions with them, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but this shows the different wars that are going on. And if we were a great power, we could jump in on either side. So for instance, the Texas War of Independence between Mexico and Texas, the states, as a great power, they will eventually intervene in this war on the side of Texas to help against Mexico. But say if we were a great power, we could intervene on the side of Mexico and turn it into a really big battle. That's how wars like, World War I started. That's pretty much it. The military screen is just where you construct things. I'll be doing a bunch of work, sort of rejigging the way that things come up, but basically you go in, you pick your different types of units, so irregular infantry and artillery. These are the provinces that they're coming from, so that's where their loyalties will lie, and that's a bit of a complex topic for now. But basically, if you lose a province, or a province is kind of in turmoil or is rebelling, it can have issues with your military if a big chunk of your military is from that area, and it's complicated, and we won't touch on that right now. But that's just that's how that works. So yeah, that's kind of the rundown. I know we didn't do anything here. I just kind of gave you information about the user interface, but I just wanted to sort of show you what's what. I'm really excited about this playthrough. I love this game, and I play it way too much, considering I have like no time to actually play video games anymore. So so when I do have a chance to play, I do typically like playing these types of games. So I have been the Luminary, and this is Victoria 2. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.